Hey everyone, and welcome to Top Think. Today we're going to learn about 10 brain hacks to learn anything faster. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Practical applications. Most of the things you read fly in one ear and out the other. Woo! Unless you have a photographic memory, you're going to forget more than you remember. So why do we lose track of so much information? Why can't we memorize everything we learn? Most of what we learn is abstract. We learn ideas, concepts, and theories. We listen to arguments for and against our beliefs. These things are incredibly interesting, but many of them lack any kind of practical application. Okay, let's say you're learning how to build a birdhouse. You practice what you learned by building an actual birdhouse, right? Well, that practical application ingrains those lessons deeper in your brain because a practiced application turns an idea or a lesson into something concrete. If you want to learn anything faster, make it practical. Put your knowledge to good use. Create something physical and repeatable. Make it something you can show, tell, or read to other people. Okay, let's say you take a class on public speaking. You could learn about public speaking all your life, but if you never actually speak, then you won't really understand what you're learning. So put your knowledge into practice. Succeed, fail, and learn. Then do it all over again because practice makes perfect. Each repetition, you'll improve and make new connections. You'll discover innovative applications for the knowledge you've gained, and those discoveries are priceless. Number 2. Pareto's Law. Many learners believe the same self-destructive myth. That myth goes something like this. In order to learn something new, I must understand everything about it. You pursue a sense of perfection in every subject you learn. You want to know everything, but eventually you reach a breaking point. You realize how much you don't know. You realize how difficult and confusing that subject really is. Your lack of knowledge becomes an insurmountable obstacle, and you just give up. If you can't know everything, you'd rather know nothing. But this is the wrong way to learn. Perfection is and always will be a myth. No one, not even the leading experts, know everything. Every subject from metaphysics to history is far too complicated to master, especially in a short amount of time. So let's change our perspective. Instead of learning 100% of a subject, just focus on the first 20%. Build a healthy foundation and then stop. This comes from a civil engineer and economist named VILFREDO Pareto. Pareto discovered that 80% of the consequences come from 20% of the causes. In other words, input and output are not equal. Pareto's principle has a wide range of applications, and learning new information is a big one. The first 20% of the information you learn will yield a larger percentage of knowledge than the next 80%. You'll understand the vast majority of any given subject even if you don't know the tiny individual nuances. So don't worry about mastering every subject you encounter. If you want to build a wide breadth of knowledge, then just learn the first 20% of as many subjects as you can, and with just 20% of a subject mastered, you'll know enough to understand and change your perspective on the world around you. Number 3. Burst learning. How long should you study? Many people study for hours on end. They stare at the pages of a book until they fall asleep at their desks. But is that the best way to study? Are you learning as much as you can? Researchers at Louisiana State University discovered that shorter sessions are much more effective. Ideally, you should study between 30 and 50 minutes at a time. Anything less than 30 minutes is too short. You won't get deep enough in your studies to absorb any information, but anything more than 50 minutes is too long. You'll pack your brain with too much information, so you end up forgetting a larger percentage of what you learned. If you want to learn something new, stop grinding for hours and hours. You may feel pressured to study until you can't study anymore, but that isn't the best use of your time or your brain power. Keep your study sessions productive and concise, and then take a break. Use that time to review what you learned or put that knowledge into practice, and that way everything you learn becomes cemented in your memory. Number 4. An introductory framework. Do you skim through books? Many people skim the pages because they're just too lazy to read each word. Skimming may seem like a terrible way to learn, but it plays an important role in the learning process. By skimming the pages, you're creating a framework. You're getting a loose understanding of the information you're about to learn. You read the titles, you see the key points, you gloss over the graphs and diagrams. Skimming the pages is like reading an introduction to the ideas you're about to explore in detail. But skimming only works as an introduction. If you skim the pages and then you walk away, you're not benefiting from the framework you've created. Instead, go back to the beginning and read the content in detail. Use that framework to structure the concepts you're learning, and if you can do that, your brain will make valuable connections right off the bat. Number 5. Consistent perseverance. Learning isn't always fun, easy, or stimulating, but if you want to learn faster and more effectively, you have to power through the pain. Just think about learning like playing a sport. Professional athletes have to get up every morning and train as best they can. It doesn't matter how tired they are. It doesn't matter how sore they feel. They practice and persevere day after day because, hey, that's what it takes. Learning works the same way. To become a better learner, you have to learn something new every day. You have to be disciplined and consistent because that consistency will make you a better learner in the long run. Number 6. Mental relaxation. Here's a learning technique that most people overlook. The best way to learn isn't always burying your nose in a book. Sometimes the best thing you can do is step back and give yourself time to think. After a 50-minute session, step away from whatever you're studying. Stop trying to learn something new. Instead, give your brain some space to process what you've learned. Try something soothing and simple like a hot shower or a short nap. You can also use relaxation exercises like meditation to stimulate your memory and process complex ideas. However you choose to spend your time, just make sure you let your mind wander. Let yourself be creative. Give your brain the opportunity to synthesize concepts and to make new connections, because that's when you stumble upon the greatest revelations. Number 7. Avoiding mindlessness. There are plenty of techniques to jumpstart the learning process, but there are just as many ways to sabotage it. Our world is filled with mind-numbing activities. When you want to stop thinking, you might watch a movie or scroll mindlessly through social media. Unlike creative exercises like meditation, these brain-numbing activities stop the learning process in its tracks. You're limiting your brain's ability to think and imagine. You're counteracting all the learning you just did. Instead of cementing that knowledge in your mind, you're letting it slip away. If you want to learn more efficiently, then get rid of these mind-numbing habits and routines. They're not doing your brain any favors. Number 8. Familiar connections. Learning new things is important. You should expand your perspective and explore areas of unknown knowledge. But to make those discoveries valuable, you have to make connections between new knowledge and familiar knowledge. Familiar knowledge describes the information you encounter on a regular basis. It's familiar because it's directly relevant to your life. If you can connect your knowledge to your own life, you gain a better understanding of the world you live in and the life you lead. Every time you learn something new, take some time to reflect. How do your discoveries relate to your life? How do they change your view of the world? You'll be surprised how profound and thought-provoking these connections can be. Number 9. The natural learner. According to a 2016 study by the Pew Research Center, learning is a lifelong process. The people who learn the most incorporate learning into every aspect of their lives. In their free time, they read books and magazines related to their passions. They socialize with groups of like-minded people and they take classes to expand their minds. They learn in every aspect of their life because learning isn't just something they do for work. Learning is a part of who they are. It's part of everything they enjoy. Learning feels natural to these lifelong learners, and with a little effort, it can feel natural to you too. Number 10. Diversifying methods. All the brain hacks on this list will help you learn faster and more efficiently, but none of these tricks are perfect. Each one has strengths and weaknesses. If you want to make the most of your knowledge, you should find ways to blend them all together. Diversifying your methods stimulates your brain. Your brain is attracted to anything novel and unique. So, each time you change your methods, your brain gets excited to process information in a new way. This discovery comes from a 2016 study by Johns Hopkins University. Researchers found that diverse learning tactics yield a greater understanding than one consistent method. So challenge your brain to engage with new mediums. Spend 50 minutes learning one way and then spend 50 minutes doing something completely different. By diversifying your methods, you become a more productive learner no matter what subject you're studying. Hey, thanks for watching Top Think and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way.